Okay, everyone. Today is the day where we will talk about our beloved Superhuman.
Yeah.
And before we dive in, let's do a bit ICOR. Before that, what is Superhuman? It is a satellite application. And a satellite application based on ICOR is defined as a tool that hooks into a core application that you're using and enhances the usability or improves efficiency or visualizes information in a different way. And that's what Superhuman is doing. So when you see YouTube videos talking about what is the best email client and they show you Gmail, Outlook, and Superhuman, just saw it today, then it makes no sense because these are two different tools. Gmail is your email client that you're using, or Outlook is your email client you're using. So this is where your email domain is hooked in. That's what you're using there. Maybe you can even add other emails into this and use this as the tool itself. But that's your client, and that's why we place this on the ICOR framework as the core application. If tomorrow, in our case, we are on a Google Workspace, if tomorrow Gmail would shut down, we have a problem. All the emails are gone. We cannot simply switch to Outlook the other day and call it a day because we need to access all our archived emails as well, maybe. And there are, in fact, decades of information in there. But if you use something like Superhuman, it just represents your emails from, in our case, Gmail, in a different way and makes the workflow much more efficient. And that's where people wonder, why should I pay so much money for an additional tool to manage my emails? Well, if you use the tool correctly and you calculate the money that you're saving by the workflow improvements, then it's an easy calculation. And that's something that many people miss out. I just received an email today from one of our members who forwarded me a newsletter from a person who said he's paying more than $8,000 per month for his tools. And I'm not shocked by this, as long the return of investment is there. If you scale things, then it makes sense to also scale the tools with you. But usually the amount that you're paying is cheap compared to what you get back from these tools if you use them effectively. And Superhuman is doing exactly this for us for years, and we keep using it, but it is a satellite application. So if there, for some reason, comes another tool that makes it even better for us to manage our emails, we can simply switch to another tool without affecting our core application. I think that's something it's important to point out over and over again, the difference there. Paco, why do you love Superhuman so much as a busy
Well, I got
professional?
many reasons,
Many
and in
reasons.
fact, I'm gonna of them because we help busy professionals to become productive. But we always say that we help to design, build, and implement business productivity system. Those are the three keys that we are constantly using. Okay, and I think that each of them are as important as any other. Okay,
But I just want to point out before we dive in, this video or this podcast is not sponsored by Superhuman or any other tool. It sounds like already now we talk about the tool like others start this and then say, we are so glad that we've been sponsored by it. No, we are not sponsored by Superhuman and we are not sponsored by any other tool. That's what we are actually really happy about this. So, as I said, if you want to switch,
and well,
we can do.
and in fact, I don't know how many times we have tried to have an interview with Raul Bora, that it's Superhuman's co-founder, and
he's too busy.
Maybe he's replying to emails.
Yeah. Wow. He has too many emails.
Yeah, no, but it's a person and a company that I do really admire. Okay, and that's why I want to talk a little bit about business, because that's also what we deliver in the Paperless Movement membership. We talk a lot about business because this is about VC professionals, and business is part, understanding business is part of being productive, okay, as a collateral, okay, or a byproduct of implementing a productivity system. And I started admiring this guy and this company because it was a tough bet, okay? They bet on the oldest channel to communicate on the internet, okay? We have to think that the first email was sent in 1971. It's 44 years old. I'm 49 years old. So the email is older than me and it's still alive. I don't know if how does it sound now like, but the thing is that there was a company who was able to bet into that channel, knowing that it was a bet on the long term. And that says it all, okay? Since it was launched in 2017, okay, it's 8 years ago, it really resonated to me, okay, because email management always had been quite painful for me. It wasn't easy to deal with a lot of different emails. I remember that I tried so many ways of overcome that huge obstacle of dealing with thousands of emails per week that it's insane, and also trying to find a way not only to reply and to manage that, but not feeling uncomfortable, okay, not feeling that friction of going there and starting suffering, because the moment that you start interacting with a tool that you are using constantly every single day and for hours and you don't like it at all, that turns out into a way of working that it's unhealthy, okay? And we don't want that, okay? We always say that we can perform and be productive at a peak level without burning out, because that's our definition of productivity. So thanks to Superhuman, they really understood the problem that busy professionals dealing with thousands of mail were suffering, okay? And they understood that emails were tasks, okay? And I think that's the pivotal moment, okay? The moment that you see an email client that is not based on a communication tool like email is, but a task management tool, is the moment that you are merging both worlds into a tool that is really useful, okay? That stupid thing of going into an email and not marking it as read and disappear of your inbox, you know, that you are constantly suffering, you know. No, I go into an email, I can check it out, and I can move out of the email, and it's still in my inbox, okay? Because I need to process and tell my email client if that's done or not done. That seems stupid, okay? But that's a something way that we deliver our course that it's called Email Management Like a Pro, that tells busy professionals how to deal with inboxes, because it's so important to have a place that you can trust on, so that you leave information there and you are the one who has the power, okay, of taking the decision of removing things there once you have processed them, okay?
Yeah.
And I think that the workflows that you can run on Superhuman are perfectly, you know, and to the point, because here I'm going to create a parallelism between Superhuman and the paperless movement in many ways, as we will see throughout this episode. And this is the first one, okay? Understanding the workflow behind managing an inbox.
And that's really where we differentiate from others. Let's name it. I think Tiago Forte, I just saw it from Ali Abdal, where Tiago Forte mentioned that an email should hit an inbox only once. And what he means by this is that every email should move into the relevant system. It makes sense on the surface. We say something similar, right? We have your single source of truth for the different things, but forcing the things make no sense. So if I have an action with an email, that might be not take so long, but that might not take so long. It makes no sense to invest the time to move these things out into a separate task management tool. And then this is where we discuss a lot with our members as well, where they look into these automations and how can I actually forward emails into the system. And what they do, they clutter up the other system because they process the email inbox and they just keep moving things to another system. And if they don't get processed properly there, you're filling up another inbox, and that's where their overwhelm is there. And we think an inbox in an email is much more a task management tool itself. And if you use it properly, then you can get most of the work done already without even leaving the email management, the email tool itself, right, Paco? That's a big difference.
Yeah, of course, and that's key, because if not, it's impossible, okay? If you start forwarding to your task management system all the email that are related to tasks, you're going to end up with a clutter task management system where you don't know how to deal with priorities because the volume of information, that's why we bet on splitting a productivity system end to end in different tools so that you have control over volume. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the
But
things
it's really, again, it shows again that volume is what matters. So if you have just a few things and you can move them to a different tool, perfect. But if you get thousands of emails per week, as we do, well then, good luck with going through the inbox and trying to you're not just organizing, you're doing work about work in this moment. That's why we need to have a system that differentiates, because the thing is, we are not saying exactly the opposite. We say you need to be careful, you need to understand what type of email you have. Maybe there is a task that takes more thought, needs more thought, and there might be a reason why you need to create a task in the action system. And then we simply link back to the relevant email just to have that context there. But we leverage the systems in different way.
Yeah, correct. And the thing going on with this superhuman analysis, okay, it's talking about the business itself, okay, because these guys wanted to do something different, okay, something risky, and they went all in. And I guess that many people don't know the problems that this company went through, okay, but in June 2022, I have made the research because I remember the experience, okay, because it really shocked me a lot, quite deep. 5 years after launching the product, they laid off 22% of its staff.
Yeah.
Out of 100 people that they were able to become, they laid off 23 employees at that moment, because even charging that, what many people say, insane amount of money, it wasn't enough, okay, to keep this high quality service and product running, okay? And this says it all, because at that moment I remember that I got scared a little bit because I didn't want this tool, okay, this life-changing tool to disappear, okay? And at that moment, Raul said that this was a strategy, a painful strategy, because they were, laying off people who were amazing, okay, really geniuses, to allow the business to bet on the long term, okay? And the moment that I heard that, I knew, okay, that this was a tool and a company that we had to bet on, because it says it all, okay? The moment that you bet on the long term, it tells many things simultaneously, okay? It says that you really believe in your product and company and project, and also that you are able to do whatever you need to do, okay, to save the project. And that's not only brave, okay, but also I think that he engaged at that moment much more clients, okay, due to the commitment that he showed to the clients and to keep the service and product running. And for me, that's something that it's important, and that any company or project that has tried to be different, and I create the parallelism with the paperless movement, talking about how we try to be different. That's why we created a methodology, because we didn't find anything like this out there, and why we continuously bet no matter what happens. And I'm telling the people that this is a painful journey, because any business that's tried to be professional, to deliver high quality and all those assets to receive that expected value from the client, it's really painful to make that profitable, okay? Because achieving that level of quality, those resources, paying attention to the nuances, okay? Because here every single sentence, in the case of paperless movement, every magic slide, every minute of video, every paragraph of an article, everything that we deliver has been pretty well thought, and keeping that high level of quality is quite expensive, no matter what you charge to the client, okay? At the end, the only way is finding volume, okay? Because it's impossible. If we would have to charge, or even Superhuman would have to charge the real, okay, amount of money that they need to charge to make the business profitable, it will be insane. I'm going up to, I don't know, 250 per person. I don't know how much it will be, but much more expensive than just $30 per user per month, okay? Because it's volume that created the balance, okay, to keep a sustainable project. Because right now, I made the research again, and now they are 170 employees. So imagine how they have leveraged everything, and we will talk about this leverage approach and betting on systems, because here Superhuman is showing how they are delivering based on a system, okay, of development, of analysis, of checking the real. By the way, some other day I will talk about linear, okay, and share an article about how you should receive and process the feedback coming from clients to really, okay, improve the product. That's something that many software companies missed out.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So for me, that approach and betting on the long term at that moment, it was really impactful for me.
There's also a very famous tool that probably everybody of us and also of the members in the chat are using that struggle with exactly the same situation. ChatGPT or OpenAI. It's the same issue. They charged $200 per month for their premium tier, and now they're introducing a $2,000 per month tier. They are not profitable. They don't get enough money. So right now they survived more or less with the based on these $200 per month tier. But these $20 per month, where people say it's insane how much this costs and so on, they make negatives with these people. They cost more than they get back. So they have a higher tier to compensate for that loss too. And again, there's a parallelism to the paperless movement. When you look at our tier set, right? That's very competitive what you can get by just paying monthly and go through the whole methodology and thinking about the return of investment. And that's where it makes it really tough. That's where volume comes into play and the diversification of the offerings that you have in your tool set. And that's, I'm sure, also a reason why Superhuman pushes towards the teams, where they introduced now team collaboration features. And that also shows there was the other tool called Missive. It was a niche product that was very well established. It was based on team communication emails. They had great integrations with external tools, many things, but nobody knows about it. So it's all about getting this reach, getting this knowledge. They got big YouTubers talking about Superhuman. There's all a reason for getting all this right and grow your reach. Otherwise, it doesn't help if you have a great product and nobody sees it. And Missive, when it comes to the team collaboration feature, was way beyond of Superhuman for a long time. And now they slowly start catching up. It's still not comparable to this. However, something that Vincent mentioned in the chat, he uses Front and compares it to Superhuman. And he said, I'm so upset with Front's decision. They are not syncing email read status. And it's something you have in Superhuman, that they show the read status of the email. If you send an email to somebody, it shows if somebody opened that email. And that's actually a big issue that they do that. And I reached out to Missive back then when I've been using Missive. And I said, what about the read status? It would be really important to see this. And I said, they're not doing this for security reasons. Because what happens, they're sending a pixel and that recognizes if somebody opens that email. And Superhuman had a long time also issues with security when it comes to GDPR and also for all this, because that's, well, it's a whole different topic. But that's where Missive never did this and Superhuman kept using it. And now, Vincent, that's probably also the reason why Front didn't do it. And now he says Front started adding this in January 2025 this year, after 5 years of service changing this. Yeah, it is not so easy. It seems so on the surface, why don't you just add this feature? But there is many things in it behind the scenes that you're not even aware of what is going on. And in OpenAI, it's the cost of running the servers and all these things that people don't see. And in Superhuman, many other things too. I mean, it's insane when you think about it, having 100 people to run a email management tool, and thinking about Todoist, where for a long time it was a very small company and they grew then as well to a bigger size. But 100 people is a lot of people that you have to manage in order
170.
to see. Sorry?
170
Oh,
nowadays.
170. Are they now?
Yeah.
Now, okay.
That's
but
what
they had to lay
that
off.
was. Yes, they laid off 23 when they were 100. Okay,
Yeah.
that was in 2022, and now 3 years later, now they are 170. So imagine how they have grown. Okay, because something that I do love is the branding and the image is something that I always say that people tend to underestimate. But for me, showing something that is beautiful to say says it all. Okay, we can visit Superhuman website, Superhuman's blog. How the graphical user interface and user experience, it's amazing. It's just minimalist. It's something that bets on minimalism. Okay, it's something that it's easy to interact with the tool, and I think that they have perfectly defined their profile. Okay, it's a tool for busy professionals, okay? And they show it in many ways. For instance, in customer service. The other day, I saw a tweet coming from a customer that he had received an email coming from Superhuman telling him a feature he had requested 4 years ago. Man, that says it all about the back office of this company, okay? The system that they have, the traceability of any, request, interaction with the client, whatever. And also shows that right now, and we will comment pretty soon, the new AI features that they're gonna launch, because the implementation that they have done using AI is impressive. Okay,
Yeah,
it's the moment that a tool shows that they are serious. The moment that they just don't go to the API, connect with ChatGPT and say something that it's just 5 minutes, of development. This is really interactive and making AI disappear for the end user. Okay, it's not my problem. I don't want to create complex prompts. I just want to receive the help of AI without noticing it. And this is something that these guys are doing. And when I comment and list the different new features, because that tell us the vision, okay, of the company, the future, how they want things to be, and how they are putting a lot of effort and resources to make our lives really easy, okay, really easy. And for me, that's fantastic. And those are the type of companies that I want to finance with my okay, my fee, my monthly fee, okay, but also that I want to support and to communicate and enhance, because I know how tough it is to deliver something like this and to be able to be profitable, or at least keep running the company, okay? Because many companies that still are running are not profitable yet, okay? They are always trying to become profitable, and that's one of the most difficult things. And I can relate to this after 23 years running different businesses.
Yeah, 100%. And I was just about to say that I keep saying that Superhuman is really one of the tools that made sense behind the implementation of AI. And we are on the top of all this since the appearance of Mem back then with the note-taking app. That was the first promising thing. But after that, it was just a matter of time. Every tool added the API to ChatGPT and all their own solutions, but it was always the same thing. It was basic, write me a blog post, correct my grammar, and all these things. It never made sense of what you actually have in your knowledge base. And then ClickUp came with Brain AI, and that was very promising because we thought now it's looking into the knowledge base that we have there. But right now, whenever you search something, it's hard that it really nails it with the answer or that you can really trust on this. But the implementation of Superhuman AI, that was since day one. It just worked, and they made incremental steps of implementing this. And I remember searching for a specific email just on normal wording, not specifically for what I'm looking for. It found all the emails that ever I was looking for. So perfect. Now I can search my knowledge base. There's no reason to move the things outwards, as I now have AI answering me the questions there and find the relevant information. And then it helps me really to be even faster with Inbox Zero. So answering emails, it's not about sending them generic answers. I mean, how many times I use the AI to give me just a starting point of an answer? That's so much easier. You reply, it has the context of the email conversation, and I make some bullet points there, and it writes out a great email response, but in my own tone too, because it knows the way I communicated in the past, And that's where everything sounds natural as I would have written it. And now with the next implementation, that when I didn't get a reply to any of the emails, it brings this back to the inbox and provides me a draft of a follow-up email that makes sense. It's not just, hey, I haven't heard from you. No, it's related to the conversation that gives me a starting point to immediately make a perfect email to follow up. And that's where I really see that this becomes also really useful to use for support, because before that I was always missing missive, as this was really perfect to track these emails and not forget about communication that you had in the past. And this is really going really great direction there. And then with the integrations of external CRMs like Salesforce, we are not using Salesforce in our case, but for sales people, this might be really useful. So these are really conscious decisions about what to add to Superhuman and to integrate, because what's missing also is the use of extensions, right? Something that you can have in Gmail, endless options to add extensions, but I never missed it so far. I don't need it, because the last thing that is one of the reasons why it's so fast, well, obviously the minimalism, but also the keyboard that I can use for everything. So in Superhuman, I really never touched the mouse. But again, well, it goes beyond, because if you go to mobile, it's crazy how well they implemented the mobile experience that's completely different from the browser. It's not just a copy paste, but they thought from scratch how you would interact with these emails on mobile. And that's where you see how much time and thought goes into this. And when you look at Apple, and they charge so much for their devices, people always forget about the research and development that goes into the tools. And it starts also with design. And I worked in big pharma, and I know that too. Obviously the medicine is very expensive, and everybody blames these companies how much they are charging. But they use this money to reinvest into further developments in the future. And there needs to be a specific buffer and many things that goes there. So it's not everything corrupted that earns more money. And I'm sure we will get called out for this as well when more people know about the paperless movement, how easy it is to make money in this world. Well, if you're really running a business, you're building a business, those who know, and that's enough. And luckily, most of our members are business owners running in a business, working in a business, and they can relate to this a lot more. And that's why we thought we make this episode today. So I hope this was helpful for many of you as well. It was not perfectly aligned with how to achieve inbox zero in your email every day. But if you want to do this, obviously as a member, you can go to the Email Management Like a Pro course. There we show in a tool agnostic way how to achieve inbox zero every day, no matter what email tool you're using. And in the implementation layer, there we show how we use Superhuman in order to achieve this. So everything is there with magic slides and all the things that you know from us.
I'd like to wrap this podcast episode up with a sentence that came from the last release of the new features that most of them you have commented there, but there are many more coming. Well, they are releasing already these new features. Okay, but one of the main features that they're gonna launch is the possibility of create workflows. Okay, and they say one quote that we identify a lot, that is that Superhuman executes end-to-end workflows, and that's what we deliver. Okay, a productivity system end-to-end, because at the end this is what we want, okay, to receive coming from any company, a solution that I don't need to think about because it gives me all. Okay, and that's what workflows will do, the exact same way that we deliver how to implement a productivity system end-to-end from information to action without having to figure out what the heck do I need to do once the information has been captured. And last but not least, beware of Superhuman calendar, because it's gonna be a killer of any other satellite apps referring to the calendar, because the integration, it comes out naturally, okay, and it's something that they are delivering. And well, we are currently using Vincal, but well, we are going really deep into Superhuman to force the thing right now. It's not the right moment, but I think that this year we could move, and that will be a huge step forward because everything perfectly managed, talking about your calendar and your emails in the same tool with such a user interface, with AI behind, with a company you can trust on and bet on the long term, it's something that, well, I have no words. So thanks so much, Superhuman, for creating such a beautiful product that improves our lives, the way we work, and also how happy we are. That I think that's the end of the story. Okay, feeling happy about interacting with something so annoying as email is. Okay, due to the huge volume of information that we manage.
Exactly, guys. Catch you up next week then.
Yeah.
Bye
See
bye.
you, and thank you so much. Bye bye.